on? Welcome back to another episode of the Retro Gamers Podcast, episode 161. Anthony is tagged out. I am back in, Larry here. And me and Anthony continue to, I guess, make a goal of recording more episodes separate from each other than actually together. This week, Anthony is busy with Thanksgiving holiday rolling up. So I have invited a very close personal friend of mine. He's been on the show before. We were just talking before, so I guess Mario.
That's good. I'm good with that, buddy.
What's going on?
What's happening? Thank you for having me back.
Can I still say what's the haps to you? Oh, no, what it is. What it is.
Always what it is.
Okay.
That's universal, pal. Yeah.
What's the haps is something else.
Yeah.
It's a terrible, terrible line.
I never heard that before.
So Mario's on this week. We're just going to talk about some stuff. It's going to be a little more new, but we got some old stuff to discuss. So
on my end, very informative because Larry's going to be informing me of a lot of things that I'm not aware of.
It's going to kind of be just kind of reactions from Mario at this point.
Yes.
See, I like this comfortable. Look at this, right? We're across from a table from each other.
I can't help but staring at your mic. It's like in my face.
It should be. That's how it works. And of course, no video because I don't know how to record video properly. Nothing's charged. I know, and people can tell it's a Larry episode when there's no video. Even though last week Anthony filmed video, but I think he had some technical difficulties.
Yeah.
As you can now hear me with technical difficulties adjusting my
oh
mic.
Boy, I think you broke it.
Oh well, whatever.
It just looks like it's off the thread.
Yeah, probably.
I'll look at it when you're done.
We will soldier on. The first thing I want to talk about right off the bat is probably one of the that I can think of. I don't know, Mario, if you can tell me if you can think of any other example of a movie studio really truly listening to the people, listening to reactions, and making a change. That is my dryer turning off. So what I'm talking about...
Certainly not Disney.
What?
Go on.
Disney Plus, fantastic. What I'm talking about is Sonic the Hedgehog, which is now dropping February 14th, 2020. The movie, we originally were going to get it in November. The trailer originally dropped last year, and the absolute outcry by the fans of the design of Sonic in this movie, people were just dumbfounded with how Sonic... Do you remember the original trailer?
Yeah, no, I do.
And you're a Sega guy, so...
Yeah, I had the first Sonic. I played the other ones on the Genesis through friends or family. Here we are, almost 30 years later, and you're seeing a movie based on the game, and the first trailer. It was kind of par the course for video game movies. It looked, terrible.
True, video game movies do get a bad rap.
And the design for the Sonic the Hedgehog, they were going for that, like, movified version. So, like, if you ever looked at the old Howard the Duck movie and then looked at the comics, it was, like, almost two completely different things that were kind of happening. And what's boggling I mean, were you angry at this when you saw this? I mean, I wasn't angry. I was just like, oh, man, this looks stupid. There's another one to skip,
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't get angry with stuff like this, but you're right. I am like, that's what Sonic looks like. Like... Using your example of Howard the Duck, back in the early mid-'80s, right? No, not come out.
85, 84 maybe?
So
maybe
mid-'80s, obviously way before the internet, so we kind of didn't have a choice. Plus, I think if people had an issue with how Howard the Duck looked, it was kind of kept to themselves.
I'm talking about the adaptive
No.
process.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying Howard the Duck himself. I'm just your example. And not only that, but they also used prosthetics. That was a real tangible thing.
This is all CG.
We're talking CGI.
Easy to manipulate to look the way you want it to.
So they created Sonic. Everyone complained. His features were odd. His limbs were just weird looking, too thin. He had no gloves. Everyone complained about his human eyes and his human teeth. And that was just kind of the big thing. So trailer drops. Storyline, I mean, as far as I know, they didn't change the story. So the story's going to be the same. But the way he looks, just what people were like, this is crazy. You know, in a world where when they try and, you know, for a while movies were trying to bring, if something from a comic or a cartoon, they wanted to bring it into real life, into like a real life movie, quote unquote. They tried to make it real. They, like if this existed in the real world, what would it look like? You know what I mean? You know, kind of like the Dark Knight trilogy, the way that was going, where the villains were kind of like based in reality in a way.
They definitely went for. I'm gonna say they went for a practical aesthetic. I wouldn't call it any more real than.
That's what I mean.
Tim Burton, but they went for something that looked practical and applicable. I know what you're saying.
So, all right. So the internet does what it's supposed to do and blows up and complains tremendously about this original trailer.
The internet's a funny entity like that, huh? But who is the demographic complaining? That's what I mean. I can't. Guys like us, you're.
I'm hitting 40.
You're at the end of your 30s. I'm into my 40s now. I can't imagine it's us. Like we're you know, but then that leaves. I mean, Sonic's been around 30 years. I mean, obviously I'm out of the loop. To me, Sonic was a thing in the 90s. You know, and I know they made games on other systems and they did crossovers with Nintendo, but Sonic has had that kind of mainstay popularity all this time.
Totally.
Well, they're making a movie, I guess, but where the crowd that I would think who would be getting outraged over this would be like the 13 to 15-year-old crowd.
See, here's what I think.
Like,
it's definitely
who's the demographic that this movie's catered to?
It's probably a little bit of everybody.
Yeah.
You know, the kids with the goofiness, the adults with the nostalgia factor. And yes, Sonic game-wise has had hits, tremendous hits, and tremendous misses.
Right.
I think the most recent game of theirs, Sonic Mania, was a tremendous hit on Switch, on Xbox, on PlayStation. The game is phenomenal. Came out a couple years ago.
That's
where I got my giant Sonic statue back there on the Genesis.
There was a Sonic game I played on PlayStation 3. Generations, I think it was
Sonic
called.
Generations was good. It was all right.
Yeah, that was the last one I ever tried. And mind you, the last game I had played before that was probably Sonic CD or Sonic Spinball on the Genesis.
Sonic
when I was
Spinball.
younger.
Oof.
But I'm just saying, like,
So
there's a gap for me. Like, I missed a lot of stuff.
So the trailer comes out, everyone complains. This is not what Sonic looks like. Again, the teeth in the eyes. That was the biggest concern. The teeth in the eyes. Even
for a non-fan, it just he didn't look.
He didn't look right.
It didn't look like a good animated character. It just looked dumb.
So that happens. No one complains about Jim Carrey as Robotnik because Robotnik being a thin, not a fat, overweight, bald.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
But at the end of the original trailer, after like the end, you do see Jim Carrey as almost Robotnik with that head of Robotnik's that we all remember. So something probably eventually happens in the game, in the movie, where he does kind of go a little old school.
Okay.
All right. So that happens. Internet blows up, and to the credit of Paramount, who are putting out this game, they said, you know what? We hear you. We're going back to the drawing board. We will redesign Sonic. And thus, admit, no offense, Mario, this is where I wish Anthony was on the episode because
go for it.
He would have the, probably the idea of, and we talked a little bit about it last time, about how much it would have cost Paramount to go back and redesign this character for the entire movie. I don't know if that means having to maybe reshoot some scenes depending on, what they had to do. I don't know if they needed to go back and redo the voice, but Paramount stepped up to the plate and they did something about it. And no one knew what they were going to do. Things were still in the air.
Sure.
They could have made it worse at this point. They could have put like an actual hedgehog in it. What I think helped where we got to.
Yeah.
What I think helped where we got to is Detective Pikachu. The movie, Detective Pikachu.
Okay. That
movie comes out shortly after the original trailer, and that movie was... storyline... I'm not going to talk about storyline. I think the movie was good, great from a storyline.
Well, what's the general consensus as far...
People liked it, but I'm talking about the way it looked. That movie was done properly. Those Pokemon looked like they were pulled straight from the video game into a real world, and as goofy as or unrealistic as whatever Pokemon would be, that was the one in the movie. The only difference, maybe a little fur to make it look lifelike. But
Give it
other
a
than
texture
that,
or something.
exactly.
Not look like a okay.
Other than that, it was a Pokemon,
Wow.
and that's when that came out. Everyone went, "Yo, Paramount, this is how you do it," and I think that helped.
And Jenna, the movie was a success.
Total.
I completely didn't even know this thing existed.
Ryan,
So it was
Ryan
a big
Reynolds,
hit.
Yeah,
So-
Ryan Reynolds plays Pokemon, plays Pikachu. Really, the only Pokemon that talked.
Okay, right.
But, but everything in it it's a great movie. Even if you're not into Pokemon, I think it was a great movie.
Okay.
It made me wish I played Pokemon from day one.
Well, it is nice to see that's finally you're getting a couple of video game based movies that are actually good. I mean, they did not have the best track record.
Right. There was a string of movies that was. We can name probably on one hand really good video game movies. I thought the first Resident Evil movie was fantastic. I really liked it.
I'm talking about not so much on a personal level as
No, I
of,
think even just I think just
those movies did poorly though. The Anderson, no.
I think as they made like 5 or 6 of them, but I think any series at that point starts to lose traction.
Okay.
But I think the first 1 or 2 did really well.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure the first Mortal Kombat did good.
And even
in the beginning.
What's her
Second one,
name?
not so much.
Jolie's Tomb Raider. That was kind of a hit, wasn't it?
Angelina
Well,
Jolie's
doesn't
Tomb
mean it was
Raider
a good movie.
No, I know yeah.
But
Though the newer one, the remade one a couple years ago, I thought was really good.
there's another one. See,
There
I'm
was,
out of
yeah.
the loop with these.
So
I mean, to me, the Mortal Kombat's the one go-to, and that's
that
camp.
soundtrack was fantastic.
That's pure camp.
That
yeah.
was EDM in house before EDM in house. So
I remember when they attempted Super Mario Brothers with Bob Hoskins.
I still love that movie.
They said he was like drunk every day.
He wanted nothing to do with that movie.
Yeah,
If
that
people
was
talked to him about it, they just shut him up.
Yeah.
I think I met the I can't remember her name, who played Daisy in the movie, who played the princess.
Right.
And there was some people there who had some like deep cut Super Mario Brothers movie memorabilia. One guy had a script somehow. It was pretty cool.
Sometimes movies like that end up becoming like these cult phenomena. Like it's so people remember it being so bad at the time. It gives them a laugh when they get older.
One of my favorite television show of all time, Mystery Science Theater 3000, is based on that concept.
It's based on the whole principle.
So, all right. So the new trailer drops of Sonic.
Right.
And lo and behold, Paramount knocks it out of the park.
I just saw it. It looks like it's going to have the appeal to the, it's much better than what I first saw.
It was, I was kind of almost expecting they were going to take the original trailer and just throw the new Sonic in. But it was like an updated trailer, as they would have done anyway.
Different scenes.
Yes.
Yeah, it was more Sonic focused.
Like, you actually saw the Green Hill Zone, like the actual loop.
You see the
and
loop
everything
and
on Mobius. I'm assuming it should be Mobius, his home
know.
planet. And then the Earth, and then you see a little more Robotnik in different situations. And you see Sonic, and just Sonic, they nailed it. He's got gloves. His arms, someone mentioned his arms are like spaghetti-like, which they are in the game. So they're like this in the movie. He's got bigger sneakers, which is cool because it kind of makes sense. That's the game.
He looked like
Sonic. And the only thing, because with the eyes, this was big, because everyone was complaining about the eyes in the first one because they were just too human. But in the game, the way he's drawn, it's technically one big eyeball.
It makes him look.
No, like it's connected. The eyeballs are connected at the bottom.
They put a bridge.
They did,
and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with
perfectly
that.
fine.
Yeah.
And he just looks like he's pulled from the game, and that's how it was. And the internet exploded the other way now, where they said, "Thank you, thank you." With that being said, and we could talk about the trailer, but go and watch. If you haven't seen the trailer, go and watch it.
I watched it.
Yep.
Actually, that was my research. I went
and even
watched.
those who
I
are
like the
listening-
scene where he's playing baseball with himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even go back and watch the original and the newer one just to see the differences. But this is crazy how Paramount actually listened to the fans. Can you even think of a time where a movie listened to the fans like that, to that point, where they put... I mean, this had to add like a third of the budget to the movie.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just exaggerating at some points.
Just on observation, and this is just my opinion, I have personally thought the quality of CG has declined the last 10 years.
I agree.
I think there's it was artificial. If you look at, say, even comparing The Lord of the Rings to The Hobbit, which weren't made that far apart from each other, The Hobbit looks like a video game. It doesn't like the Lord of the Rings looked like he combined puppeteering and really well made, well drawn out, rendered CGI. Like The Hobbit looks like, and that's made So it makes me,
You're
know,
right. I was watching.
That said, for a video game movie like Sonic, why wouldn't that work? You know, you can have that exaggeration, just like you had, like hand-drawn animation with Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You can kind of have that. You can make that work. I hope they make it work with this movie. You know?
So too. You know, it's funny. Last night on YouTube, I was just flipping through, and I saw an old Tonight Show with David Letterman, and he had Tom Savini on. This is like mid '80s.
Right.
And Savini was showing some of the props that he used, like in Friday the 13th, like the final chapter, that one, and just like these props, and they just look so realistic back in '84.
Yeah,
you know, you're right. A lot of companies do oversaturate with the CGI.
It's also it's not it can work. It's just. I see a decline in the quality of the CG alone.
Like, for example, and I know you being you, so just remember what kind of podcast we're on. I'm not going to ask you to delve deep into it.
No, I'm not going into
All I'm going to say is this. You know, when they switched Yoda from a puppet to CGI, that looked weird. So,
and I tell you the truth. Are you talking about the prequels? Are you talking about
I think they
prequels?
changed. I think they even went back and redid one of the puppets as a CGI.
What happened was the Phantom Menace, when it was first released, Yoda was a puppet in it.
Yes.
And the Phantom Menace was unique because Lucas was kind of just starting to use more CG. He said when he was going to do Attack of the Clones in the next one, it was going to be CG sets, it was going to be CG characters and everything. Like Jar Jar was like an experiment. Yeah. So when he went to Attack of the Clones, Yoda was all CG, and then he went back and changed Yoda to CG for the Phantom Menace.
Which was just weird. But that's what I'm saying, like between practical versus CGI.
Yeah, I mean, on one end, the puppet Yoda, you can feel its weight when you watch it. It looks physical, it looks real. On the other hand, you could see its movements are clunky. Yeah. It blinks very deliberate. And then you take it with the CG, and again, the CG was very experimental back then. So I wouldn't say it was as good as to me. The pinnacle was the Lord of the Rings. Yeah, the use of CG, and then it was down, or King Kong, for that matter. Was good too.
So getting back to Sonic, with this, so now everyone's on board. There was a meme that actually Anthony put up on the Retro Gamers page. I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't have it in front of me, but he's basically saying, okay. Everyone listen, the studio listened to you. They went back, they took more time and more money and changed it. Like, we feel almost obligated at this point to see the movie. Do you feel that at this point now, almost as an obligation and almost like a thank you, I'm not saying you personally, but
no, I know that
all the fans go and go and see this movie.
Anyone who griped, listen, at the end of the day, it's
I mean properly. Don't bootleg it, all right? You bums. Go and pay and watch the movie.
It's at the end of the day, the dollar you make, it's your choice. But you know what? If you took the time to go online and cry about this stuff, put your money where your mouth is.
Or not even cry. I mean, there were a lot of crybabies. Kind of like those who are hitting with Google Stadia, but even those who
let me soften that a little.
I'm just saying, but because there are, to be fair, it was a rough go with that first trailer.
It was, listen, for people who are passionate and people who want to see something done right on screen, I understand. So a change was made. This looks to resemble more of the video game combined with whatever story they're going with. So all right, so they did something for you. Put your money where your mouth is. Okay, so go see the movie now.
Like, are you, again, I'm not saying whether or not you're going to go, but after seeing the second trailer, would you be more inclined to see the movie now if you weren't interested in seeing the movie before? As a theory.
So if I were a passionate Sonic fan who collected Sonic the past 30 years, I would go see it. Yeah,
okay.
100%.
All righty. So we'll see. So
honestly, yeah, I would go see it. I probably, and compared to the first trailer, I would not have.
Yeah. Because even the story looks better, and and everyone kept saying, "Oh, I'm interested in seeing this movie." So we'll see. We got Valentine's Day. We got some time.
They have to make an Alex Kidd movie next. No, I'm just kidding.
How about Phantasy Star?
Don't they have isn't there one?
I don't know. Not that I know.
I gotta get
Wing
back,
Commander.
I got to get back to Phantasy Star.
Have you been playing?
4.
Have you? How have you been with the Genesis Mini?
I'll tell you the truth. It weaned off.
Yeah, they all do.
Very quickly. And the big problem with the Genesis Mini is that it's a fun system. The imagery is beautiful. The music that they put, the menus, everything is good. They have, out of 42 games, they're all quality games. The problem is, at least 70% of these games are the exact same platforming shooting genre. That there's not, I can't think of a single sport game on there, and the Genesis was known for their sport games. So I think it's good. It's hit and miss.
All right.
Like I said, I stick to the space shooters because I rarely ever play them, and I can't even clear the first level, so it's 5 minutes out of my day. I got to get back to Phantasy Star 4. I was doing pretty good in it. And then, I go to these, default games. I end up playing, Golden Axe or Streets of Rage 2, and I really don't play anything else.
I never really got into Streets of Rage. I got to get into that.
Well, Streets of Rage 2 is the one to get into.
Right. I'm waiting for Streets of Rage 4.
Yeah,
see what happens.
And that's modeled after 2, for the most part. Yeah,
yeah, totally. So. All right. Speaking of, we're just going to kind of trek right along here. I kind of brought this up to you before. I was looking into it. Last week, I was back in my old neighborhood, my parents' house, and right around the corner from not right around the corner, but up the block and near the avenue, there's a building that used to be there that is, they knocked it down. I guess they're rebuilding something. It was like a double home or something like that. But even before that, when I was in high school,
right?
I would say like sophomore, junior years, like middle high school. It was an arcade, and it was like a house just with a bunch of arcade machines. It was the only one near me that I knew of that had WrestleFest, which is why I was always there. I remember there was a pool table, there was a bunch of games, and in the back room was WrestleFest and a couple other, Mortal Kombat maybe. Though my timing may be off on those years, don't hold me to it. But so and I thought about it, and also as I'm driving to my parents, there's a public storage facility that used to be Funtime USA.
Oh, wow.
Which was a giant arcade. It was like an arcade, a party room, all this stuff. They used to, every month almost, they'd have wrestlers there. Me and my friends would go get autographs.
Sure, yeah.
But it was a great arcade. I didn't grow up on Long Island, but I know you've talked about some arcades that were out here back in the day.
I remember Time Out in Roosevelt Field. I remember there was an arcade even before that. And, believe it or not, Adventureland had one of the best arcades.
Adventureland, yes.
Ever.
And that's what it's kind
of... My throat's dry.
Unfortunately, I got no water except for
Don't worry about
I apologize.
it. Yeah.
I got a beer if you want, so.
No, I'm good.
Even though it's 10-something in the morning.
Do you remember the arcade in Penn Station? That was a little sleazy hole. You remember that place?
No.
Oh, my God. I used to go in there when I was a kid, man. That was scary.
Well, I can only imagine.
Be careful in there.
And then like the pizzerias would have an arcade in there or something.
7-Elevens used to have. I used to go to 7-Eleven when I lived in Westbury. I mean, they used to get any arcade. That's where I played the Ninja Gaiden arcade.
Okay.
But that's where I first played Street Fighter 2. And then all the kids were showing up there.
Yeah, I used to. Me and my parents used to go to a beach club during the summers, and they had about like 3 or 4 arcades. And I remember that's where I first saw Street Fighter 2. I remember my first quarter I was on for a half hour. It was E-Honda. It was before you kind of realize what cheaping is. Get the guy in the corner, just hit him with the 1,000-hand slap.
Yeah. And
also,
block throw.
Yeah. They also had Darkstalkers. I remember I saw that one for the first time. They did have Asteroids. And nowadays we have like Barcade. We have a place called Yestercade, which is in Jersey.
I heard of that.
So Barcade, bar, arcade, great establishments, of course. We love them. Yestercade is more of a you pay by the hour. You go in, they have tons of arcades. You pay a flat fee for the hour, and all the games are on free play. Which I think is a great idea.
Wow.
And there's also various locations that may have a game or two.
Variations of the original.
Exactly. But there's no true arcade anymore, I feel
I don't think with costs of energy that you can have that anymore. Can you imagine what it would cost to have a just to rent like a little mom and pop place and put 15 arcades, what the electric bill would be like?
Well, that's one thing, but also I think it's just with today's day and age, I just think the way, because remember, those monitors that are in the old original arcades, the CRT screens,
they're all starting to burn out.
They literally do not make them anymore.
Yeah.
They are literally not made anymore. Like I know when I talk to my friends over at Barcade, I think they're just self-fixing them. And even I just heard recently, like installing a CRT screen if you don't do it right, you can almost literally get killed from the electric.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if you don't do it right, like if you don't ground yourself or something,
you got to properly ground yourself.
Blow yourself up.
Those things, they induce voltage. Absolutely,
yeah. Big time too. I heard.
Yeah.
So I think that's maybe more like for the maintaining. Even though more like Arcade 1-Up has come out with some wonderful machines, mostly for the home, but it's an idea.
See,
it's an idea.
That's what I would think would be the way to go, is to start getting some of those machines.
Mm-hmm. All right.
But then in a bar setting, because at least now you've got alcohol to cover a lot of your costs.
Yeah, that's true.
And you limit the amount of arcades you have, or pinball or something. But even pinball's high maintenance. I mean,
it can be. Yeah, I know Barcade is starting to bring in a lot of pinball machines. I think there's a pinball Hall of Fame in Jersey somewhere, not that far from where we are.
It was just as part of it was part of that experience
Totally.
as the arcade machines themselves. So they had a good run for a couple of years, and I just think, like you said, the maintenance and the cost. Once the machine was paid off, and that's the easy part. Now you got to maintain them. Now you have to cover your costs of your business. It's a very difficult.
In today's day and age.
And that's why you see them in places like with Dave and Buster's used to be like big chains, glamorous franchise restaurants that can cover that kind.
Like
that have that
Chuck E. Cheese
overhead.
back in the day. Well, Chuck E. Cheese was created by the guy who created Atari.
Yeah.
So
and even if you look at the machines that are in there today, they're not the same. It's not the same experience.
It depends. You're right. I mean, like when I'm in Barcade, it feels like it, but that's also because we're all in the same age group.
Yeah.
Like back in the day, you would go to the arcade, you would hang out with your friends. It was a safe spot. You know what I mean? Well, also back in the day, there weren't a lot of jerks around. So
you had a lot of. There was some.
Yeah.
Some of the arcades
you had bullies. Yeah,
you had
course.
some rough people and some.
But that was
hustlers.
growing up.
Yeah,
that's
part of the.
That was life. Life.
That's part of the whole experience.
But I don't know. Maybe, hopefully, one day we can see really that return to the arcade. Like I said, Yestercade is great for the family, having that meaning. I mean, Yestercade's great. We definitely if you check them out, check them out. But
look how the Cradle of Aviation does it. They're a museum, so in that spirit, in that context, you can do it.
Exactly. Or even have like that pay per hour or. You know what I mean? Kind of
you
a flat
pay the
rate.
Flat fee, and then you can play whatever you want up there.
And if we can get like a barcade out here on Long Island, please, if you're listening, barcade on Long Island would be fantastic. I may go work for you.
I'll tell you what. I wouldn't be surprised. It's just, again,
I'd be there every week. Forget about it.
Long Island, as you know, is very expensive.
No, I know.
That's the big problem. But I think a barcade could do fairly well around here.
Or at least close to
Levittown. Yeah, I could see it happening.
And folks, if you're listening, remember you can check us out on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Twitter. Basically, on Twitter, we're at Retro Gamers Pod. Everywhere else is at Retro Gamers Podcast. Let us know if you have any local arcades near you, whether it's an alcohol establishment or something where it is like pay by the hour. If you have a traditional old school arcade, like Game On, our friends over at Game On.
Oh yeah,
they have some
nice machines,
awesome machines,
and they have young guys that are very good at maintaining
and passionate as well.
Yeah. They're very good technicians. They maintain that stuff. They'll fix and clean your systems.
Yep,
they're pros.
They're really good to begin with. So definitely check them out if you're on Long Island, Smithtown and Miller Place.
Next time my kids are here, we should go out there.
Absolutely.
Now, I know this weekend's out of the question.
No, I mean, listen, I'm busy later tonight. Maybe we can do it.
Let me know.
We'll see.
They're
we'll
bored
talk.
out of their minds.
We'll talk. We'll talk afterwards.
Yeah.
All right.
So, I've got a question for you.
What do you got?
I don't know if many of your listeners know this. Larry and I are neighbors.
Yes, we are now. Yeah.
We share an apartment. Not the same apartment
complex.
Yes, an apartment complex. A very complex apartment. I'm on the bottom floor. Larry's on the top floor, and for all intents and purposes, he stopped by last night with his Google
Stadia.
Why don't we get into that, Larry? Tell me about your experience.
That's a wonderful segue. I like it. Anthony would be so proud.
Dude, sometimes I throw out gems. Sometimes I throw out duds. I mean, that's just the way it happens.
So my hands-on experience with the Google Stadia, I love it.
Okay,
I love it. It's a great concept.
Right.
It's still, I only have 3 games for it. What happened was when it released, originally when it released, and if you have the Founders Edition, which I have, which basically I ordered like day 1, maybe day 2, I ordered it.
All right.
Back in June. Founders Edition comes with 3 months of Google Stadia Pro. Now, now you can play Google Stadia without a subscription. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
But with a subscription,
You get
which is like
better content.
Yes, and it's no different than PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live Gold.
Okay.
It's just billed monthly as opposed to yearly. If they do yearly, I'd rather that, but it is what it is. So you get 3 months of that, and with Pro, you get Destiny 2. It was a free game.
Okay.
Full game, DLC, everything.
So this is the way gaming is going, it seems.
It seems like it.
So
it's all cloud-based.
Okay.
Remember, there's no... Technically, you can say the system is a Chromecast. Chromecast Ultra it is, which is their 4K Chromecast, which just hangs on the back of the TV.
May I ask, just out of... Because now you're kind of piquing my interest a little bit. What is the monthly fee for...
$10 a month.
That's it?
But for $10, you get... Like the free, well, I don't know if you subscribe, you automatically get Destiny Pro, Destiny 2, but you would get, special games each month, probably special deals, just like PlayStation Plus. But also you get full 4K, HDR, 5.1 surround sound.
Okay.
You can play it without the subscription. If you play without the subscription, then you max out at 1080p. No problem there still.
Not really.
Especially if you don't have a 4K television. If you don't have a 4K television, then it's kind of useless to do it.
Anyway, yeah.
Unless you want some of the perks of the games and sales and stuff.
Right.
So, Destiny 2 comes with it. And 12 games were going to be available at launch.
Okay.
Not bad at all. But the internet being the internet, only 12 games, that's it? Like, what? So sometimes I don't know what I'm going to do. And I love all the fans and the listeners, but...
Don't get too frustrated with that stuff.
Anyway.
I mean, everything is running the way a certain way that the games will get released. People are going to cry anyway. It doesn't, don't let it take away from your fun.
Like Paramount, Google listened to everyone and goes, all right, we'll give you 10 more games at launch. And now there's like 22 games at launch.
Okay.
Not only that, but I guess people want more free stuff. So Google goes, okay... If you got the Pro Edition, you get Destiny 2, and we'll give you Samurai Showdown.
That's
very cool.
I used to play the original.
I started playing for the first. It's great.
Yeah.
So Samurai Showdown, Destiny 2 I have. And then they had, for a launch sale, they had some good games on launch sale.
Okay.
So I picked up Tomb Raider Definitive Edition for $10.
Right.
So I'm like, you know what, let me download that as well. Other great games is Red Dead 2. There's Shadow of the Tomb Raider. A couple of the other Tomb Raiders. There's a few Tomb Raiders on there.
Wow.
NBA 2K20. Grid, which is a racing game, which I may pick up. That's still full price. There's a lot of games available. So, but I got my 3 games.
Right.
Very happy.
Okay.
And 2 of them are very graphic heavy. Destiny 2, very graphics heavy. Tomb Raider, graphics heavy and story heavy. And Samurai Showdown is what it is. I'm just saying, it's a 2D, it's a
fighter.
2D fighter.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah,
okay, so you get the system, which is basically the controller, which I have my Founders Edition color scheme. I think it's like Midnight Blue or something.
Okay.
And the Chromecast Ultra dongle, which is just a 4K Ultra Chromecast. So very easy to hook up. Just plug it into the back. Excuse me. There's an AC adapter that you plug into it, but through the AC adapter, you can plug an Ethernet cord, which I thought was really cool.
Oh, wow.
So instead of having it wireless, it's Ether, which I always try and hook up. If you can hook up the system, hook it up wired. That's my suggestion. And that's it. You saw the box when I opened it.
It's almost like a Fire Stick for like games.
Well,
right?
it's Google's version of a Fire Stick, which is Fire Stick is Amazon's version of a Roku.
Wow.
Which is just another version of Apple TV. So, it is what it is. So, I put... Now, before this, I'm seeing these reviews online. Everyone's like, oh, well, the lag is terrible. The jitteriness of the games. And I'm like, okay, let me prepare for this because I got an email about a day before I got the system.
Okay.
Google saying, here's what you do to prepare for Google Stadia. If you have an Ethernet, if you have a dual band Wi-Fi, I should say.
Okay.
2.4 hertz or whatever. The nerds go back, no, it's 2.something. 2.4 hertz or 5 gigs. Go with the 5 gig. That's the 5G that we have here.
Right, yeah.
Wi-Fi versus Ethernet. Go Ethernet if you can.
Okay,
all the time. But then the last one goes, if you're going to play Google Stadia, don't have anyone else stream movies, stream music, or stream video games. In other words, if I want the perfect situation, I need you and the tenant on the main floor to not do anything.
Oh, yeah, well, that's, sorry, dude.
I just thought it was funny to see that. I'm like, okay, that's concerning. So it is what it is. I get the system, I hook it up, no lag whatsoever.
Well, that's good, man.
It's amazing how people who were on the beta which is not guaranteed to work 100%.
Right.
Even right now, even what I have now, I don't think is like a full official launch.
And I'm sure with every update
exactly.
and stuff,
and
they'll
that's
fix
the idea.
something.
The update's all on Google's side.
I mean, that's the world we
There's
live
no
in now.
system.
It's been that way with everything, you know.
There's no system to, like, if I boot up my Xbox One right now, I know there's going to be a system update that's going to take 25 minutes.
Yeah.
If I want to play PUBG, that's going to be another half hour.
Sure. Yeah.
So, this is all on Google's side, which is cool. Then everyone starts complaining about codes. What happened was you needed a code from Google to get on Stadia, especially for the Founders Edition. Now, this is where I will admit that Google probably dropped the ball a little bit.
Okay.
I ordered mine in June. I know people who ordered in August and September.
Right.
They got the controller and the Chromecast before I did, and some of them got the codes before I did. That was a little weird. I got
kind of like when I got my Genesis Mini before you. And I ordered it after. Yeah.
Actually, yes. Maybe it's just this apartment.
Maybe it's you.
I very well could be. What else? So people were complaining about that. But people weren't getting their codes, and some people still don't have their codes. Okay. And Google has admitted, they're trying their best to get that out. So I will admit that is a pain in the butt.
Okay.
Especially because if you have the controller and you don't have the code, you can't play. So now you just have a new Chromecast Ultra
it's just
that you can stream shows on. But besides that, I boot up the system and I tried all 3 games. Maybe a little, like stutter step once or twice. That's the biggest problem I saw. Okay. I've seen worse on physical media booting up.
It happens.
Besides that, it streams like a charm. It's in 4K, at least on my screen, it's 4K.
I'm excited about
lag.
Samurai Showdown.
Yeah, we'll definitely show it to you. Yeah. No lag.
Yeah.
It's been fantastic.
Good.
I think people are now just creating negative reviews of it just to get the hits.
I think that's part of it. I think
because it's one thing to complain about not getting,
but people are onto that negativity today. I've noticed. Like somebody puts out a book that isn't in the current trend, and people start putting negative. I think people kind of know, like, all right, this guy is just
I'm negative sometimes. I'm fully admit,
but you can read
you
the
suck
difference.
Limited run.
Well, you can read the difference in content and context of a negative review of someone who actually did something or somebody who's just writing something to write.
Exactly.
9 times out of 10, they never even opened the box or tried the product or read the book or whatever it is.
I'm a firm believer in those who have these negative Google Stadia reviews.
Yeah.
Have Google Stadia and it's still playing.
100%.
Put your money where your mouth is. Return it or something. So
that's all.
But
there's so much luxury in this stuff today. It's so high tech and advanced that everybody's going to find something to complain about.
Now, the argument will now show up as, which is a valid argument, and me and Anthony go back and forth on this, physical versus digital. Google Stadia is purely digital. Now, granted, in concept, I can start Tomb Raider on my Chromecast Ultra on my TV. The iPhone isn't compatible yet. It will be down the road. But if I had like a Google Pixel phone,
sure,
I can go straight from the TV and start playing with that controller on my phone. And I can go from that to my Chromebook,
it's amazing.
and play. So that's the idea. The idea is you kind of pick up and
kinda
play wherever you want.
Like a Switch.
Like a Switch, but you don't. It's not the one system.
Right.
Which I like that idea. Also, there's no physical media, which I'm a big fan of. I have no more room, as you can see. Yeah. And I like the idea of the cloud. I'm all in on the cloud. I'm all in on digital.
Right.
So I know, again, guys like Game On and other stores, Game Dude over in LA, they don't want to hear it. But I think the cloud is the future of gaming. And I just think for these newer games, I think physical media is starting to go to the wayside.
I think that was always bound to happen. No, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, you're talking about resources, you're talking about space, you're talking about unnecessary costs in printing up discs or chips or whatever the hell they use today.
Even though it's weird, a lot of times the physical media gets discounted drastically, and the digital stuff just stays at full price.
The one thing, I mean, to me, the implications that you have to worry about, honestly, are the moral implications.
All right, technically, I don't own the game outright when you have digital.
And I mean this more towards movies, too. You buy a movie on the cloud or whatever for digital. They alter it on you. They edit it on you. They change it on you.
Well, I never seen that happen.
It's coming. Look what's going on. Disney Plus bought Fox, and they are eliminating movies from the Fox library.
All right, let's not get the conspiracy theories
That's not
in on
conspiracy.
this.
They're actually doing.
Well, I know,
it.
the Michael Jackson episode of The Simpsons is not on Disney Plus. They took it off. So
and that's the problem. And then what'll happen is, what if you buy something that 3 months from now they deem inappropriate, and they just take it away without giving you your money back?
Well, it's a subscription. So, that's where that is.
Yeah.
It's you're not
Yeah.
you don't own all the movies.
How does that work with gaming? That's my question.
That's the thing. Like, for example, I got the Simpsons arcade game is on my PS3.
Right.
I have the X-Men arcade game on a 360. If I delete those, they are not available anymore online. I cannot re-download them.
That's,
DuckTales Remastered, same thing. If you have the physical copy, you're good to go. But I have a digital copy on the PS3, and I was going to download it on my Apple TV, but it's gone.
So,
I can't.
as a preservation of history, what do they preserve? The code? So that they could always bring. Is there a physical way? I don't know how that works.
There are stories constantly coming out of small indie games disappearing from online, like from Xbox Live or PlayStation, because like they had an argument with the distributor or the contract expired. Game's off. That's it. You can't get it anymore. So yes, there are pros and cons.
It's really like there
are pros and cons.
I think it's easier. It's more efficient, and it puts it in its proper place. At the same time, there's an ethical question that needs to be asked, and the other question is just for the sake of historical preservation that some of these physical copies should be saved.
Agreed. In the vault.
Yeah, but if you're a gamer and you're playing games, or you're on a professional level where you're actually making money doing this, I don't see it being a problem.
All right. But to go back to Stadia, I'm definitely giving it 2 thumbs up. I love it. Games are great. I can't wait for more games to come out on it. It's just easy. It boots up. And again, it was under $200 for this new quote-unquote system where,
that is inexpensive. Wow.
When the PS5 and Project Scarlet comes out.
$700 right?
And you're spending that like every 4 or 5 years. Where in theory, this is it. I never buy anything new for Google Stadia again, except for games.
I think you're going to start to see the end of physical systems for that very
reason. I think
reason.
Physical everything. Just everything. Look at the music. I mean, even music.
PlayStation, NES, they're all going to have to do what Google is doing. So. I think that's the way it's going.
PlayStation, Xbox already has it. Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Now. So,
they do.
But yeah, so Google Stadia, definitely go out, check it out, get it. I love it. There's a few exclusives. I know for those who like exclusives, maybe not enough for you to get a Stadia, but I think down the road it will be. But yeah, I love it, and I can't wait to see what else comes out next on it. And with that, I think we're gonna wrap it up here. Some Black Friday deals actually are starting to come out.
Okay.
And with next week's episode, we'll probably get more into that because actually we would be past Black Friday at that point. And then we'll see if because Anthony usually picks up a lot of games during Black Friday.
That right? Oh,
in fact, I even saw WWE 2K20 is already 50% off on PlayStation, and it just came out about a month ago.
That's a whole other subject, man. The things I've heard and seen is.
Hey, look, you know what? I don't feel bad for people who bought it day one because my PlayStation Classic I bought day one at full price is doing just as good as those who buy it today at $20.
It ended up being like the most hackable system in the universe. Am I right?
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay,
But yeah, so folks, we're gonna cut it here. But I want to thank Mario for joining this week.
Absolutely, thank you for having me on. It's always fun.
No problem. Do you have anything to plug or just?
At the moment, no, I don't. Restructuring.
Fair enough.
Yeah, we'll call it restructuring. A
lot of people are doing that.
Yeah, you have to.
We're not. We're still moving on.
That's right.
And hopefully next week, me and Anthony will be back on the show. So check us out.
Yeah, well, listen, if I'm around, hit me up.
So again, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube at Retro Gamers Podcast, Twitter at Retro Gamers Pod. Email us, email at theretrogamers.com, and our website, I think we still are maintaining, theretrogamers.com. Let us know your thoughts on the Sonic trailer, on Google Stadia, on anything that you think. The Game Awards are starting to come up, so me and Anthony will probably talk a little bit about that next week. And your thoughts again, physical versus digital, keep it coming. And folks, with that, we will catch you right here next week on the Retro Gamers Podcast.